Okay, so this is Serenade by Schubert, and this is 3 pages. So we're gonna kind of break this up a little bit. Let's do left hand first, kind of getting our notes for the left hand, and then we'll do right hand, and then we're gonna do hands together, and then after that we'll do some dynamics and pedal. So for the beginning, we're just gonna get our left hand notes. We're gonna start with D position. If you notice the first note here, we're holding that as a dotted half note, so we're going to hold that through the measure, make sure that you're holding the pinky and kind of pulsing those other quarter notes. So we're still hold. When you're first starting to get familiar with the notes, just do that, just left hand hold, bum, bum, going down, B flat. Same thing on this one, hold, then return, bum, bum. That nice 3/4 time, right? The waltz 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. On this one, measure 18. Remember to hold the top notes and then pulse the C. 1, 1, bum, bum. Transitioning into a major here. Remembering to be natural. Boom, boom, boom. This one, return. On this one, they have the B flat there. Normally, it would just be B flat naturally. I think what they're doing is just kind of helping the students remember this B flat. Really emphasizing that, yep, that's a B flat. We're going to the minor. So very gentle. This is a very sort of gentle piece. There's not a whole lot of sort of aggressive or sort of fast-moving energy. It's very sort of gentle, flowing sort of waltz here from Schubert. Okay, so that was the left hand. Let's go ahead and go to right hand. On this one, noticing our phrases as well, that we have that phrase, that legato from the beginning all the way to the A, and then it has another phrase. So this was... So we want to make sure that we have a little sort of baby lift there. When we use the pedal, it's not going to really matter much, but when we're practicing, it's good to just practice having proper phrases. So little lift, almost like kind of breathing, or if you imagine these phrases as little breaths, like, you know, and then release. These are all like little, almost like you're playing, you know, a woodwind instrument, where these little phrases are important. When the pedal's not there, when the pedal's there, you know, it doesn't matter, but for, you know, for practicing, it's good. Boom, boom. 1, 2, 3. On this one, we have C sharp A. 1, 2, boom, 1, 2, 3. On this one, we have that 8th rest. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 1. So kind of waiting. Once the left hand joins in, it's going to be a little bit easier for the timing. 1, 2, 3. So I'll have a little bit of a delay. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. On this one, we have the dotted 8th note. Hold as long as you can, and then kind of right before, this is sort of like a sort of militant, almost got a march-like quality. Bum, bum. So you can sort of sense like a little bit of kind of subtle, sort of frustrated kind of energy there with the bum. It's not, it doesn't have that sort of relaxed, sort of flowing quality. So we want to have a little bit of sort of agitation. On the dynamics there, we're moving up to like mezzo forte. On there also as well, it looks like we have some phrasing. Boom, boom. 2, 3. Going into the major. So on this one, we're kind of doing a little bit of a switch, right? We're kind of transitioning out into something a little bit more happy, a little bit more joyful. Moving right along onto page 3. Now we have the only forte. This is the only forte, I think, in the piece, right? Checking around. Yep, the only forte. So we want to make sure for the listener, for the audience that's listening, that this is going to be the highest point of the dynamic. Okay, and then going a little less. Okay, so the whole thing, same thing like what we were doing with the left hand, keeping that nice 3/4 time, 1, 2, 3, bum, 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 all the way through. With the right hand, with especially with this melody, if you don't have a pedal or if you're not playing with pedal, having these phrases are really important. So making sure you have those little sort of lifts, so those breaths, kind of taking those little breaks, and then this whole thing should have sort of a kind of a nice undulating sort of flow to it. On these dotted eighth notes, this is the only real time when you have a little bit more of a like an attack on the piano. So a little bit more kind of these aren't too much. It wouldn't be like a Beethoven or a Liszt or something. This is a little bit more kind of subtle kind of aggression with this one. Okay, so let's do both hands. On this one, we're still remembering to keep the left hand held down with a boom. On this one, since we're not using any pedal at the moment, both hands will kind of lift. Taking your time as well. You can, with a lot of these sort of chords, you can sort of rest. This is a really good slow piece to kind of really think about these notes. What do these notes kind of mean to you? What sort of expressive depth can you give these notes to kind of transport the listener to a new place? Oops. Okay. Very soft again. Moving on to page 3. Okay, so a lot of different layerings here when you're practicing. Remember to kind of just break this down into small bite-sized chunks. Do the left hand, maybe even just the first page, left hand second page, left hand third page, and then as the week is sort of progressing, just sort of adding more pieces to it. Don't try and attack the whole thing all at once. Always with pieces that have a lot of moving parts to them. You take your time, breaking things down if you need to. Okay, so we're gonna add another layer. We're gonna add some pedal and a little bit of dynamics. This pedaling is sort of interesting. We don't have any pedal on the triplets. So what we're going to do is pay special attention to where all of the triplets are, because the triplets seem like, especially like in the beginnings, we do have some areas where there's pedaling with the triplets, but for the most part, the triplets are kind of on their own. I think the emphasis is to really pay attention to those triplets, and then once the melody is continuing to move forward, then that's when we add the pedal. So this will be pedal. Remember to play the notes first and then pedal. This, especially for these slower pieces, you may want to delay the pedal a little bit more. Pedal. 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 No pedal. On this one, for the pianissimo, we're going to use the soft pedal. Very rarely we kind of use the soft pedal, but when it has pianissimo, that's when we can use that very soft pedal. And again, the soft pedal is when all the hammers are moving on the piano, moving slightly over, so you're using a softer part of the hammer to kind of create a softer sound. So on this one, very gentle. Soft again, the pianissimo. Moving on to the third page. Okay, now we have that forte. I like this passage here. This sort of takes us to a different place. It's very sort of maybe longing or sort of seeking. This is like a lot of sort of expressed uncertainty there. There's a lot of sort of depth that you can sort of go into that passage. Like, ooh, interesting. We're returning. Major. We're okay. Everything's okay. So on 25, we're like really, they were not quite sure that could be a whole thing in and of itself. You could take that and do a whole other piece, explore this piece in a lot further depth and dimension. But he's not really taking us in that direction. We're moving back to the major. Everything's safe. This is a short little piece again. So with these ones, with these expressions, with the triplet there, really sort of use a lot of the weight, so the weight of the hand and also the weight of the fingers. We're not sort of just... You could, but for me, with Schubert, especially with this waltz time, we're really sort of letting your whole body, right, the weight of the hand, the fingers really sort of go into those, like really sort of milking as much as you can of that would be a very sort of, that could be its own phrasing in and of itself, but it's sort of a call and like a response. So we have that main sort of call. So we have that kind of maybe something that's on the rising or sort of like, so it's maybe a call for some sort of response, and then maybe the response is maybe not necessarily a kind of a response that you would like to hear. This strikes me as being a little bit more of a kind of a melancholy sort of quality. Like maybe that could be like a call and the response to that. And then here we have like the resolution, right? The call, response, and then resolution. So we're kind of following a basic format here. Okay, so right there, that's the full scope. On this next part, now we have the pianissimo. This could be even an additional like response. So we have that response on measure 2. This is going to be very similar to a response. It's almost like a kind of an echo. or if you can imagine this pianissimo as being like almost a kind of very, like you're sort of straining to hear that last sort of echo part of it. And definitely sort of a deep yearning here, like a kind of a cry maybe. Right here, where sort of the response that we're getting is a little bit more positive. It's kind of transitioning to more of a major tone. So right there, we're sort of on that happy note, and then right there, we're sort of leading into more of this sort of maybe a little frustrated kind of energy is going on. There we have a resolution. Again, that could almost be its own piece. Again, if it was Beethoven, certainly he would want to explore that in its full capacity. But Schubert doesn't here. He just sort of resolves it. Here we have another pianissimo, really soft. Again, kind of getting back to like more of that frustrated kind of militant march there. This very happy, like more of the peak hitting the peak here. So right there we have a little bit of a dichotomy. We're expressing something that is maybe happy or joyful, but on a deeper underlining level, maybe more kind of a deeper authentic level, that's not actually the truth of kind of what's going on. Because what's happening here is he's returning back to like that kind of uncertainty. It's not fully sort of expressed. It's not a kind of genuine happiness. It's definitely expressing happiness, but it's not an authentic kind of happiness because we're returning back to that kind of uncertainty. And then we can kind of back to major. So with Schubert, this piece, has kind of a lot of different multi-layers to it. There's the technical aspect, which also has its layers, and the expressive aspect also has multiple layers of things going on. So when you're playing these pieces, kind of keep those in mind. Again, if you're just beginning or if you're new to Schubert or playing more in-depth classical pieces, really break this down as much as you can. Do just left, right, pedal dynamics, then kind of go into expression, then kind of multi-layered expression, right, when you have things that are expressed as joyful, but they're not necessarily authentic, and kind of moving toward what's more authentic and having both of those at the same time. So there's a lot of really interesting, very creative things that are going on here. I'll play maybe once through and then we'll... Okay, so this is my playthrough here. This is kind of my own interpretation. You may have your own interpretation as you're playing this piece and getting familiar with Schubert. You're going to have your own way with him and own insights, and this is my interpretation. You may not necessarily agree with it, and that's completely fine. There's multiple perspectives is always a good thing if you're trying to find your voice. I forgot to mention about the really light notes is I was sort of doing an arm movement where the elbow was moving out. It was sort of rotating out when I was playing. So when you're hitting the note, you should feel like the arm sort of rotating out. That creates a kind of a little bit of a softer, it softens the impact of when the hammer is striking the string. So on this one, not only are you sort of using the weight of the arm and the fingers, but you're also rotating out with the arm to soften the hammer strike on these. So there's a lot of interesting arm movements and things to explore on further pieces, but for right now, I think we're going to call it good for Schubert.